This program is brought to you by generous donations from the community and sponsored by Stiefel Financial.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Forbes, your host for tonight's edition of Nevada County Now. Before we get into tonight's featured story, we're going to take a look at a few other items happening around the community. First off, Nevada County Supervisor Heidi Hall has announced that she will be running for the 3rd U.S. Congressional District seat in Congress, and she will be challenging Representative Kevin Kiley, a 2-term congressional Republican. Hall, a Democrat and supervisor for the last 8 years, is taking on the congressman who has won both his House races fairly easily. We all know that with warmer weather, it means mosquitoes are not far behind. Nevada County's Environmental Health Department announced 5 mosquito fish giveaways that will take place on Wednesdays from May 7th through July 9th. Mosquito fish are named as such because they are known to consume quite a bit of mosquito larvae in ponds or other standing bodies of water. They are an effective tool to help reduce the mosquito population in its larval form and are a non-chemical method, which is also beneficial to the overall environment. To learn more about this program, please visit nevadacountyca.gov website. We will provide the link in the description. And the Nevada County Food Bank has rescheduled their Fighting Hunger Flea Market for Saturday, June 7th. The Fighting Hunger Flea Market is a fundraising event designed to support programs of the food bank. The event will feature hundreds of new items donated by longtime food bank volunteers, and it will also include vendors such as Lazy Dog ice cream, music, and face painting, all in support of fighting food insecurity in our region. For more information on the Food Bank of Nevada County and this event, please visit the foodbankofnc.org website. Don't go away. We'll take a short sponsor break and be right back.
Thank you to Stiefel Financial, proudly helping individuals pursue financial goals, businesses and organizations raise and protect capital, and communities offer a higher quality of life. To learn more, visit www.stiefel.com.
Tonight's top story is about last week's student walkout following the Nevada Joint Union School Board's no vote on the Every Student Belongs resolution.
Just the numbers here right now today. That means they value each student at less than $10,000 apiece. Are you as a human being worth less than $10,000?
No! For 4 years straight now, I have felt, and many other people have, disloyalty, mistreatment among this campus and all over the place. The board has had every single opportunity to change that. And with what they passed this past month, they decided not to. Are we going to take that? No! I can hear you. Are we going to take that? No! I have only been in this school since October, and yet I cannot even count the amount of times I have had people shout things at me in the hallway. I've had people harass me. I've had people freaking call me slurs. I'm just walking to class. Someone called me a slur just because I have crutches, I guess, and when I am constantly getting harassed and demeaned by the students at this school, then I expect that the adults at this school are going to stand up for me and are going to do something about that. I am a trans guy. Many of my people, many of my friends are LGBTQ. My gender should not be political. Treated like an object! I should not be treated like a thing! Like not a person!
The resolution in part states, now therefore be it resolved that the Nevada Joint Union High School Board affirms its unwavering commitment to ensuring the safety, inclusion, belonging, and affirmation of all students. And the resolution concludes, be it finally resolved that the Nevada Joint Union High School Board stands in solidarity with all students and remains committed to upholding their rights, dignity, and educational success. Despite widespread support from students and teachers, the resolution was defeated by a vote of 3-2, with Board President Andrew Klein and trustees Ken Johnson and Kelly Clark voting no, and Olivia Pritchard and Wendy Willoughby voting yes. Said Andrew Klein, voting no on this resolution will not harm a single student, but voting yes on this resolution has the potential to harm the learning environment that we have fostered.
And nothing's going to happen this year. We have the funding for this year already, but it's the future.
And so if we have the funding for this year.
We have lots of time to wait and see what happens. It could be tomorrow, and next meeting in May, we could have another resolution and approve it then. I have no problem with the resolution except for what it does to us possibly financially. That's for our students and our teachers.
So I'm just curious, like, who's going to set the precedent for us? Is it us or a district 10 miles down the road who's willing to do it? And that's just kind of, I think, the view of most students in our district. I don't want to speak for all of them. There might be students who don't view it that way, but I think it starts with precedent. And if we're not willing to set a precedent that our district supports all of our students in the face of adversity, then what are we willing to support?
Mr. Frizella?
Trustee Chilton?
Aye.
Trustee Clark?
Nay.
Trustee Pritchett?
Aye.
Trustee Willoughby?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Nay.
President Klein?
Nay. The nays have it, 3-2.
Student interviews have revealed a mixed view of on-campus safety. Parent and sociology graduate student Allison Rivers, who studies belonging and safety, told the board her interviews with a number of Nevada Union High School students indicated that a number of them do not feel safe. Rivers told the board that one student, who identifies as LGBTQ+, told her, as one of the very few brown people that go here, I am often pretty singled out in my experience. Rivers said another student reported that she has been bullied constantly and has been unable to get her grades up. To explore these contrasting viewpoints, we've invited Board President Andrew Klein, Trustee Wendy Willoughby, and student Spencer Gillespie to discuss this issue. We're going to take a short commercial break and be right back with our guests.
Are you looking for a unique hands-on experience for your group? Nevada County Media offers field trips for all ages that inspire creativity and curiosity. Explore the world of media production. Learn about live production, animation, podcasting, and more. Our field trips are perfect for schools, clubs, friend groups, or organizations who want to have fun learning new skills while learning teamwork. Schedule your field trip today by visiting NevadaCountyMedia.org. Discover, create, and have fun with Nevada County Media.
The Nevada Joint Union High School Board is made up of 5 trustees and 1 student. Posted on the district website under Mission and Values is the following: to provide quality educational opportunities to high school students in Western Nevada County. Values include quality teaching and learning, options for students, respect, inclusion, and a healthy and safe environment, to name a few. The district recognizes and supports all students and staff of every race and nationality, every ethnicity and every religion, every gender and gender identity, every sexual orientation, every disability, every age, and every socioeconomic status. In the studio, we have Andrew Klein, who was elected to the board in 2024 and is currently the board president. Andrew's bio states that he has a passion for promoting the trades and the CTE program and helping kids excel at whatever their passions are. His goals for the district include long-term fiscal viability and planning, empowering teachers to create attractive and long-term employment, and expanding the CTE program for more access and more offerings. Andrew recently voted no on the Every Student Belongs resolution. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
When they say may we live in interesting times,
yeah,
this certainly kind of falls under that category, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
You know, What I'd love to do is dig into the background story a little bit. We know what the resolution says. We know how people voted, how the board voted, 3-2, negating or not passing, I should say, the resolution. Tell me, when you were considering how you were going to vote, what kind of research or discussions, or what was your thought process when you were trying to decide how you would vote on this resolution?
Yeah, so if I could go back a little bit farther, we got... there was some word right after the current administration took place that they were going to be looking at the Department of Education federally. So, right. And I keep up on as much news as possible, and
that you can take.
That I can take as much as I can take, and so I read up on that a little bit, and there was no movement or anything, and then we got this Dear Colleague letter.
Yeah, February 14th, the famous
February
Dear
14th.
Colleague letter, yeah.
Before we even had a secretary. It was an acting secretary that sent it. And so read that, took that with a grain of salt, had some discussions with the superintendent about it, and we're like, well, let's just wait. Let's wait and see what happens. And then we got, April 3rd, I think there was a certification letter, maybe April 4th. And the certification letter was the federal government requesting the state to certify that they are adhering to the federal Department of Education's interpretation of Title VI.
Right.
And so the state, and that came right before our board meeting, about the same time the resolution came. So I heard typically the Wednesday, the week before a meeting, the superintendent and I meet, and we put together the agenda for the meeting. And I have a rule that if a board member requests something to be on the agenda, it won't be unreasonably withheld. Before, there was some verbiage in the handbook and the bylaws about the board president and the superintendent have final say on the agenda. And I was like, I think we should just, if a board member, they're duly elected representatives. I'm sorry. I use my hands a lot.
It's okay. Use them up here.
Okay.
It's okay. We don't want to blow out our viewers' eardrums. So
got it.
I appreciate the timeline, though. This is great.
Yeah. And so we met on Wednesday, and the superintendent said, I hear there's a resolution possibly. And I was like, okay. And I didn't think too much of it because typically we get everything in well in advance if we're going to add something
like
to the
in
agenda.
a packet, you get all the information together. Right.
Or a board member says, hey, we want to put a resolution together. We want to add this to the agenda. And that kind of gets signaled a lot earlier. We kind of hear about it coming. We can kind of review it, talk about it. For example, I made some changes to the handbook when we started out. And I shot out a copy of what I was thinking to all the board members, just as an info, right, to start, and then the conversation. And then we decided to have 2 board members work on those changes. And we worked on all those changes. We came to a middle ground on them, and then we voted and passed them. This resolution came in an hour before the deadline when we typically post the agenda. I think legally it's 72 hours. We have to post the agenda ahead of time. So I was at an event. I didn't have time to look at it. I said, yep, that's my rule. Like, just put it on the agenda. We'll deal with it. So I saw it when it was publicized, and everybody saw it. And I was like, legal hasn't looked at it. I haven't really judged it against the legal documents that we've seen from the Fed and the state. At that point in time, I called Ken Johnson,
the other trustee,
one of the other trustees. Mm-hmm. Yep, and we don't agree on a lot of stuff.
It's okay.
and I talked to him about it, and because the Brown Act allows you to talk to one other board member about stuff without a quorum.
Right.
So we were talking about it and going over it, and I was like, I just don't feel comfortable with this. I feel like we're going to put a target on our backs for the feds. We don't have any direction from the state. The state hasn't said that they would give us the funds instead of the federal government. The state doesn't seem to be in the place to be able to give those funds that the federal government, we've relied on the federal government from.
Sure.
And so I came to the conclusion that I'm not going to vote for it, and Ken was of the same mind. So I prepared my written comments, and we had the board meeting. We had people talk on the resolution. They wanted it. I understand that.
As far as a public standing up to speak at the board meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Nobody spoke against it. I knew it was going to be a full board of a full panel of people. So we actually slimmed down the timeline that each person was allowed to talk so we could fit everybody in, because we only have a 20-minute timeline for each topic. So we got everybody's comments in. We had a good amount of emails in support of it. And I still didn't feel comfortable with it. And so when it came to voting for the resolution, I voted no. Ken voted no, and Kelly voted no. And I really, the main reason that I voted no is that I felt like I had a fiduciary duty to the district to make sure that we have long-term fiscal viability. And without that money, like, there's a lot of things we could go into about what that money will affect.
It's 4% of the total budget, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere, yeah, 4 to 6%, something like that. But it affects more than that too, because we have a JPA, Joint Powers Authorization for food in the district for our lunch program and our breakfast program. And what we did is we do a lot of locally sourced, really healthy food.
Yes.
And
various programs, through Sierra Harvest and other programs, correct.
It's a great program.
Yeah.
I want this JPA to succeed.
Sure.
It gives kids a much better food, and locally, organically raised, a lot of it is. If Nevada County doesn't get that money for the JPA, that money that's allotted for us from the federal government for the lunch program, it could really tank the entire JPA for the entire area, because we're just the high school district. But we're the largest. We have 5 schools.
Right.
There's 8 other districts out there that are all elementary schools. So I feel a responsibility to those districts as well, that we can't put our money in jeopardy. We're jeopardizing not only the high school district and the high school kids, but all the kids that are in school in Western Nevada County.
So was part of your equation witnessing how other executive orders coming from the White House have happened?
Absolutely.
So am I putting words in your mouth by saying that you were believing, you believe what's coming down from the executive? Because if I read the state's information or documents to districts, it's like they don't have the power to do this. Don't worry, it's a letter. The letter has no enforcement mandate, and this is not law. We're going to take care of you. So you're basically...
Well, they never said we're going to take care of you. That's an interesting part.
Okay.
They're nowhere in there, and because I would be a lot more comfortable if they said we're going to take care of you.
So if the state were to, anyway, so you're kind of stuck between state mama and feds papa in a sense.
Totally.
Your mama, who do you believe?
And by the way, that's a legal opinion from the state. The federal has already given a legal opinion from the
Then
Fed.
that was just on Friday, I believe, that the White House released another, I don't know if it was an executive order, but a clarification on the executive order.
Yeah.
On the letter from the Department of Education.
Yeah, and they did the executive order on that. The interesting part is that the state gave their opinion that we comply with everything in Title VI. And
that's the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Yep, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And but then immediately filed a lawsuit along with 18 other states against the Department of Education.
Right.
So
New Hampshire, among others.
Yep.
Right.
So this is going to get litigated.
Sure.
So this is something that I don't want to jump the gun on. I'm not a lawyer. We don't have any lawyers on our board.
Right.
We have counsel that we could reach out to.
Sure.
But we're not litigating this issue. This isn't an issue for us to litigate. This is an issue for the state and the federal governments to issue. Is this sort of like a wait and see kind of vote on your part? Okay. So it could be that if things become clear, you might feel more comfortable about a resolution such as this or another resolution, who knows, like how it goes. Absolutely. Okay. So let me ask you this. Not all school districts, in fact, I did a little bit of Googling, and I didn't find any other states or school districts that have implemented a resolution such as this except for Oregon. But where is it coming from that there are people in our district who feel that this resolution, or at least the intent of the resolution, is important and necessary in the high school district? Where is this coming from? Well, it's, that's a really good question, and that's a question that I've been asking, and that's a question we're going to discuss at the next board meeting. And that next board meeting is May? Yes. Okay. I forget the
May
exact
12th,
date.
maybe?
It's in my calendar. Okay.
I'll put it in the notes, in the show notes. So I think it's May 12th.
I believe so.
This will be continued
It's on the Wednesday night closest to that date.
Okay. got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have looked that up. So this conversation will continue as far as if the source of this resolution was from the feeling on the part of certain populations or certain people that they don't feel safe, that they don't feel included, all those concepts, then what do we do about it? If not this resolution, what do we do?
And like I said, I think the intent of the resolution is good. I think it is. I don't think it was handled well. And I think that
you felt it was rushed, as I understand your perspective.
I feel like it was moved through without a lot of thought. It needs to be, I believe the intent is there, and I love the intent of it. All of these students belong. They really do, and the entire board unequivocally stands against discrimination and bullying. That goes without question. I got a lot of emails, and most of them reference political reasons why they want this resolution to pass. And I'm an apolitical board member. We don't have an R and a D next to our names when we get elected. And so I really did my absolute best to push aside any bit of political leanings whatsoever and look at the facts of what's going on here. And I think that's what we really need to look at is there the possibility of us losing the finances? Yes. Do all of our board policies, ed code, and everything protect any kind of discrimination and bullying? Yes. Is that being enforced? That's the question I'm going to ask at the board meeting.
And what do you say to the accusation, I guess is a good word, that you and others who voted against the resolution are putting money before values? How do you respond to that?
Well, I responded. I had 3 students actually that emailed me with approximately that. And I wrote them all back a nice long email, and I explained our position. And they all replied back to me, "Thank you, that makes a whole lot more sense. We've only been getting one side of this story." And one of them watched the
deliberation.
Tape. The deliberation. And said, "Hey, you know what? We still don't entirely agree with you, but we appreciate your stance on it."
Well, it seems that there are good people who have the best intentions, who mean the best, and think that they're doing the best that can possibly happen within the circumstances such as they are. Not that I think that our school district is like Harvard, but if you look at Harvard, the wealthiest school in the country, they will not capitulate to demands on the part of the administration. Maybe they have a bit more buffer than your budget, but my point is that there is a sort of a moral rising of morality and people who are saying, hey, we just can't I guess the word is give in or capitulate. So that's another way of kind of considering this mandate.
And I don't discount what their morality is whatsoever. I don't. I may not agree with it, but I think being a board member, especially at an apolitical board like this, when the governing agencies above us make political moves and political decisions, we need to respond apolitically. We need to respond with what we really believe is in the kids' best interest, in the students' best interest. And we are not a straight democracy. And so we know that there's a lot of people, if we put it to a vote in the county, I don't know where it would end up. But I do know that I won this last election with a pretty good mandate. Kelly won with a good mandate, and Ken won with a mandate in the South County 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
Right.
And so they've elected us to be their representatives. The larger group of people. And we are trying to stand up and make the decision that we think is best for the students while taking in everybody's opinions. And then we're jurists. We're not litigate. We're not litigating things.
So I think that what's interesting is to see what comes out of this. So if this has come from somewhere, and if there is a contingent or a culture, an atmosphere that in which people do not feel safe or included, these are issues that need to be addressed and considered regardless of the resolution. And do you have plans what are your plans to take a look at that?
Yeah, well, one of the beauties of our country is that we have a lot of mechanisms to make sure that a minority is not oppressed, right? So I 100% believe in the rule of law, and I believe that at the end of the day, after this is all litigated, that it will be litigated fairly, and that I think that it will protect. It'll protect the marginalized. It'll protect those that feel like they don't have a voice. And I fully appreciate people standing up and giving their voice. I do. I love hearing it. I love having those conversations. And those 3 students that reached out to me, I was like, I would love to do a Q&A with you guys. Like, bring your peers together. Let's sit down. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah, good idea.
And if any student feels like they've been bullied, harassed, marginalized, and not taken seriously, my email is aklein@njuhsd.com. Email me, and we will look into it.
Okay, we'll take you at that. And then perhaps you can come back and when things become more clear and evolve, because I don't think this is going to go away, do you?
No. It's going to take a few months.
It's going to take some time. I have one more question for you.
Absolutely.
Then I'll release you. Were you surprised at the reaction to the vote? Were you surprised at the student walkout?
No. I was expecting there to be something. Again, I looked over, I also wanted to look at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. And so I looked over, and I saw about 300 students walk out. And they were led by the same students that spoke passionately at our board meeting. And honestly, I'm proud of them. The civic engagement that they had, I think they did a fantastic job at it. Nobody got out of control. Nobody broke anything. It was peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very good display of their civic engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And I promised one of the kids there when we talked at the board meeting, I was like, I will die on the hill of your individual liberties. I promise that. And they will not be oppressed. They're not looked past. They're not forgotten. They are there. We're simply trying to make the best decision for the district as a whole.
And what an interesting lesson process for young people to be a part of and witness.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Best of luck. We'll look forward to the next board meeting and have more information for our viewers.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're going to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We have more on this story.
In the heart of California's Sierra Nevada foothills, Nevada County isn't just a place to live. It's a community to thrive in. At the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, we're committed to supporting our local businesses, fostering innovation, and creating opportunities for entrepreneurs to grow. Whether you're starting a new venture or expanding an existing one, the Nevada County ERC provides the resources, guidance, and connections you need to succeed. Your success, our mission. Join us today and be a part of Nevada County's bright future. Visit ncerc.org and let's grow together.
Our next guest is a senior at Nevada Union High School. He has played on the tennis team for 4 years and is in the Jazz and Symphonic Band. He asked the school board 2 months ago for some kind of statement about the proposed Every Student Belongs resolution. Please help me welcome Spencer Gillespie. Welcome, Spencer. I think we have that wrong. You didn't send a notice 2 months ago about the resolution per se.
No, I asked 2 months ago just for sort of anything because the school board had been kind of radio silent about really just supporting students with the recent administration and just the current culture war as it is. There are many different leaders and politicians across the country that really are saying, quite negative things about different groups of people.
So as far as diversity, equity, inclusion type topics. Okay, got it. So
whether it's, immigrants or different varieties of queerness.
Yes, right. So you were concerned about that 2 months ago, and that precedes the resolution that was voted upon 2 weeks ago. So I get it. Okay, so you sort of were prescient. You had sort of a spidey feel that you should speak up. Why do you think that you felt so strongly?
Almost every single one of my teachers had given just of their own volition some sort of different talks to their class saying, hey, I'm here, you're safe in my class, I will support you regardless of political climate. We'd gotten something pretty similar from our principal and school admin, but we hadn't really seen anything from the board.
Right.
And so I thought, maybe if I just ask, they'll say something. So I went up and I asked, and they all said in their while they were talking with their monthly reports, they all worked into their something about supporting students.
Okay.
Though it wasn't an official position of the board at that point, it was just said in meeting. And then, of course, a month later, the resolution comes up, and rest from there, I'm pretty sure.
The story was told.
Yeah, the story's been told.
So at the board meeting at which this resolution was voted down, did you speak at that meeting?
I had someone speak on my behalf. I was down in Sacramento just finishing up a tennis match.
Okay,
so I texted my mom, who was at the board meeting, what I wanted to say, and so she read that out.
Okay, nice mom.
Yes.
Okay. What did you think about the vote?
I was hugely surprised. I was so shocked because, like I said, every single board member said that they do support students, and then 3 of them voted against. It felt a little bit like a bit of a knife in the back.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Were you clear, or did you understand what their position was, why they voted no?
Yeah, the $1.7 million potential federal funding
that could be
taken away
from the county as far as the administration's DEI mandates.
Yeah.
Got it. So what did you think about that as a reason to vote no?
I think it can be made as a legitimate point, but I don't think it works because, looking at the walkout that happened at NU and Godoti, there was about 300 kids there.
Yes.
For $1.7 million, that values each of those kids at less than $6,000 apiece.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one way to look at it. Yeah.
That's just the simple math. So, would you support me for $6,000 of funding? I think I'm worth more than that.
Right. Okay.
As a person, as a student, and I think all of our students are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see the calculations they did. I just don't weigh the funding the same as they do.
So money versus values is really what it came down to for you.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, Spencer, where do you think this resolution came from? Or is the culture, what is going on where a resolution of this sort is even necessary? Plus, we have Title VI and other policy, school district policies and state and federal policies that will definitely, take a stand against bullying or any kind of violence or anything. So what is going on with our district and the culture?
Let's see. Well, the reason the resolution is important is because it's an active statement that says we are still with you. It's real easy to say, oh no, we still have that in policy, so we're good. But that doesn't actually send any sort of a signal to students that the district actively supports them. And then for why such a statement would be needed, our campus is a relatively safe one. We're pretty good, but even then...
You feel safe? Your friends feel safe? As safe as any...
I personally do, but I know plenty of people who avoid certain areas, avoid certain groups, maybe not for fear of physical violence, but definitely, being called different names or even slurs,
right.
Jokes made at their expense for things they can't control. A couple months ago, we had some vandalism in a bathroom where someone burned swastikas into the stalls, and then earlier in the year, in the fall, someone spray painted a bunch of swastikas in the parking lot.
Yes.
And a couple slurs too.
Right, and so that's definitely against the law.
Yeah, definitely against the law. And
right.
With those sorts of things happening, it's nice to know that our board members still are actively there with us and not just coasting along.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. I really appreciate that insight. Tell me, my understanding, having just interviewed a few minutes ago President Andrew Klein, that he is open to, once the dust settles and there's more clarity coming down from the state and clarity coming down from the feds and everybody knows exactly where they stand, he's certainly open to revisiting this. And he's also open, more than open, to discussing the culture and discussing what else can happen if this resolution is not enforced. Then what else do we need to do? Would you sit down perhaps with him or some other and maybe brainstorm? I'm sure he would be open to that. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, I would, as long as he takes it in good faith. The problem is, I don't know if you saw his response to the walkout in the union, talking about how our protest is against democracy and how we need to get our butts back in class for economics and math, which, I'm in macro econ now. I was in AP US government last semester. It's pretty insulting to be told that I don't know what I'm doing, and so I don't know if that same sentiment from him would carry through to the sort of discussion you're talking about.
It'll be interesting to find out.
But if he approached it from a good faith place and was genuinely interested in listening to what his students have to say, then yeah, I'd totally be down for that.
Okay, interesting. My observation, not that it's worth much, but my observation is that, that everyone has best intentions and that the perspectives and the intentions are filtered through a different, in a different way, and people come to different conclusions. But I'm hoping, for the students and for everyone's sake, that as we move on, I know there's another board meeting coming up somewhere in the middle of May.
Yeah, second Wednesday, right around the 12th, I think. I should have looked that up. I didn't. That there is a continued conversation. Are you feeling that will happen? Is it possible? I would be. I am fully expecting this resolution to be brought up again.
Okay.
There's the board meeting's going to be packed with spectators and people wanting to say their piece. The community isn't just letting this go. That I do know.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to a peaceful and proactive resolution to all of this, resolution to the resolution, and to hearing more about what you and other students have to say about this sticky issue. It seems that we are every single day faced with some sticky issues, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway, Spencer, thank you so much. Really appreciate your input, and perhaps you can come back at another time and we can talk again.
I'd be happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. A pleasure. We're going to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We have more on this story.
If you are dining outside at a restaurant and someone is smoking a cigarette or using an electronic smoking device, you are being exposed to secondhand smoke. But what if you're in your own home and a neighbor's smoke is drifting in? Every person should have the right to live in a smoke-free environment to protect their health and the health of their family.
I live in an apartment and my son was coughing more than usual. I realized it was because our neighbor's smoke was affecting him. I tried putting a wet towel under the door and I asked the neighbor to please not smoke inside. He smokes outside sometimes, but the smoke still comes in. I'm really worried about my son's health.
People in our community are facing this problem every day. Often the residents affected live in apartments, condos, or other multi-unit spaces. Many people are unaware that all secondhand smoke is dangerous. This includes smoke from vapes, hookahs, and cannabis too. Take action today to help protect some of our most vulnerable community members from the dangers of secondhand smoke. Let's make living smoke-free an option for all Nevada County residents. Go to smilenevadacounty.com to share your story, get involved, or to find ways to quit. The Nevada County Tobacco Prevention Program is here to help.
Wendy Willoughby has strong ties to Nevada County, 4 generations strong. Her career has spanned television, theater, and nonprofits. Wendy, who wrote the Every Student Belongs resolution, was one of 2 board trustees who voted yes, and we want to welcome Wendy for coming to the studio and helping us understand your position, your point of view, how this all started. So let's just start with how did you feel, why did you feel compelled to write this resolution? And could you give us a little backstory?
Sure. Well, I think the whole country was watching with bated breath as the administration, the current administration, began to send out executive orders, those which seemed quite probable to harm our students and communities, frankly. As those were unrolling, we as a board and our district were being advised to sort of wait and see as things progressed.
Advised by whom?
Well, by our conversations with one another, our superintendent, what the superintendent is hearing from places like CSBA, which is the School Board Association of California, various law firms that help school districts, et cetera. As you can imagine, in any kind of a large system, there are lots of folks who people boots on the ground look to for that kind of advice. And so we were sort of in a holding pattern, if you will. And then Spencer, who I believe...
Gillespie?
Yes,
right?
yes. Spencer came to our March board meeting and spoke in the non-agendized public comment. So this is a place where public can come and speak to the board about anything, that it doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda. And in a nutshell, what he said was, hey, board members, we have heard from our administrators, our staff, other supporters inside of our districts and our schools that we understand this is a very scary time for students, particularly students who have already experienced and are continuing to experience harassment and bullying and othering. And we got you. And what he said to us was, well, we haven't heard from you guys. And so for me, that was sort of the straw, if you will.
Hit you.
Yeah, that, okay, I'm sort of done waiting. Not sort of, I am done waiting. And so I let Superintendent Frisella know that it was my intention to bring a resolution around student belonging to the April board meeting. So that was the driver of how that came about. But may I also say that in the creation of that resolution, my intention, knowing that there was potential concern based on other conversations and comments made by my fellow trustees, that anything that felt really pointed could potentially make the resolution not adoptable. And so I set out to create language and words that felt much broader and more declarative in nature, as I'm sure has been pointed out, and maybe folks are not aware, but we do already have education code, board policies,
Title VI,
laws in place, right, that already guarantee these things for our students. So really it was about the pieces of the resolution that you wrote, right? We got you, is what we're trying to say to these kids.
So rather than addressing or writing this from the perspective of it being a protest document, you wrote it from the perspective of it being a solidarity in support of the student body.
That's a great way to put it, Lynn, yes.
God, interesting. So I think that, I know that one of the points that made the trustees who voted no on the resolution was that it was submitted very close to the deadline when agenda items are accepted for a board meeting. And at least Andrew Klein said to me on this show that he didn't feel he had enough time to really digest and to give it proper consideration, and he was uncomfortable with other pieces that we can get into in a moment.
Sure.
But as far as submitting it, pretty close to the deadline, I think that has been one of the criticisms. What do you say to that?
Well, the way that our process works presently, and I can only speak to our district's process, is each trustee has a one-on-one meeting with our superintendent. We don't actually see the full agenda and all of the things attached until it is released on Friday evening. Often if there are things...
For a Wednesday meeting, for a following Wednesday.
Friday evening for a Wednesday meeting. And so, and things can change up to the last minute. We try, right? The hope is to have it so we're not pressing our executive staff to get that out. But in fact, many times there are things we do not see until the agenda is released to the public on Friday evening. And I understand that President Klein would like to have more time. However, I feel I should push back a little bit. This is a document that is barely a page and a half.
Okay.
And the documents that would need to be compared to it or reconciled to it that he's talking about. So that's the Dear Colleague letter.
February 14th from the Federal Department of Education.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Which was more of in reading it, it seemed to me more of a, it was threatening but not directive. So it was a very kind of wishy-washy, you got mixed messages.
Correct. And they're telling you to abide by the law, but we're already abiding by the law.
Right.
So what exactly are you talking about?
Sure.
So my understanding is that there would have been a desire to have more time to directly compare the words in the resolution with the directives from both that February 14th letter, and I believe there was the then that also just happened on Friday.
Right.
That Friday
morning.
White
House clarification.
Yes, the clarification document and the request for signing a certification that
by each state.
Correct, by each state.
Right.
And so again, that speaks to the fact that school districts are in every state are sort of beholden to their state. And any compliance we have with regard to dollars given to us through our efforts around our existing law, Title VI, as you mentioned, we already every year and have to give that compliance, answer those questions, show the things we're doing to be able to receive those federal dollars. So we're already doing all of the things that the federal government is asking. And we do that through our state. Those things are given to our state, and then the state then gives them to the feds. We do not report directly to the feds, as far as I'm aware.
Right.
And so what I guess I would have hoped for and what I hope for in the future is if that is truly the issue, then let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Well, we interviewed Mr. Klein a little while ago, and I think his biggest discomfort is the word. His biggest discomfort was around this fiscal issue and the threat that 4% of the budget could be withheld by the feds if DEI type language and positions were not eliminated from official documents and considerations by the district. So as far as his Klein's his fiduciary responsibility is what he mainly, you've talked to him, I'm sure. I'm not telling anything you don't know.
Yes.
Was his main concern. What do you say about you just mentioned that you do not get funds directly from the feds, but from the state.
Right. Well, no, we do get funds directly from the feds, but we don't report directly to the feds, is my understanding. And I hope Mr. Frisella will call me out if I'm not correct on that.
Right.
But that our compliance and doing what we need to do in order to be eligible for those dollars, that is already happening.
Sort of like, I said this in the last interview, it's sort of like, you got fed daddy and state mommy, and mommy and daddy are giving the kid different, different direction and instructions.
Right, and so that is another argument that's been leaned into, that the interpretation of both of these directives from mom and dad, as you put it, are different, and therefore that needs to be, play out in the courts, et cetera.
And it is being played out.
And it already has. And so one of the statements that was made during that board meeting was that we didn't have guidance from our state yet. Well, we do now. And that we didn't have any legal opinion, we do now. We also have the kids put forth a petition at the same time as the walkout was scheduled that has almost 1,000 signatures on it. So I wonder, with many of these concerns that were stated at the board meeting being met, are the concerns still the same, or are we changing?
Have the concerns been addressed?
Have the concerns been addressed enough to reconsider doing right by our students, being in solidarity with our students? And I think it's a false equivalent to say that we can't do both. Right. That it either has to be, we risk 4% of our budget, which is pretty small when we have a fairly healthy reserve, versus making our students, which is our goal, right, to create a safe place where kids feel they belong, because the data shows us, anecdotal stories tell us, as you mentioned from Miss Rivers, these are the things that help kids learn.
So let's turn this just a little bit, because the resolution is a statement of solidarity, but it doesn't resolve or address the issues that are being spoken about in the resolution. So clearly this came from somewhere. There are some concerns about safety and bullying and so on and so forth at the schools. What's the next step? I hear, if I hear what you're saying, you'd like to see this resolution reintroduced at a board meeting coming up. I know the next one is May 14th.
Yes.
I'm assuming there might be some action around this at that meeting. But I mean, the bigger issue is, from my perspective, the bigger issue is, what do we do about these issues that are surfacing at the schools? And that, I'm assuming, will also be on the agenda at some point to, evolve some programs, develop some programs that address these issues.
Yeah, and so, Lynn, thank you for the question. We have programs that are in place that are addressing these things. We have trainings that are happening for our administrators, and we are working toward adding more training, what is often referred to as, or I would like to see us working toward adding more training so that teachers, both teachers and students, understand how to intervene when they see an incident. Many times students will share that an incident happens and they don't know what to do.
Yes.
Right? We do have,
I wouldn't necessarily know what to do.
And how to do it in a safe way that is protecting the victim in whatever the circumstance is. And so these are all things that I personally have been working towards since I was elected in 2022. These are the things that are being told to us by the current administration that we are not to engage in. And so I believe that there is it feels as though there's a cross purpose here. And I know that President Klein stated multiple times during the board meeting that the no vote, I'm assuming he's speaking to his no vote, was not about ideology. I beg to disagree. That is exactly what it's about.
Tell me more.
If we have a declarative statement that is set to create solidarity so that the children, the kids, and some of these kids are actually adults, right? They're 18, some of these seniors, to show them that there are grown-ups in the room that actually care, that understand that there are students out there that are struggling, that there are students that feel as though they are set outside, that are othered, that don't feel they belong.
Right.
And anyone worth their salt who has any education is familiar with Maslow's hierarchy.
Right.
If these kids are not fed, are not clothed, do not feel safe, I mean, if you want to focus on test scores, where should we put our dollars? Where should we put our energy? On making kids feel safe and that they belong, so they can focus not on where, what hall they're going to walk into, or what bathroom they're going to go to, but the test that's in front of them, asking their teacher the question about the math problem they don't understand, right? Feeling like they can be in solidarity with the rest of the students on the campus.
Is it possible that, it feels like there's a lot of good people with good intentions, with a different perspective. I wonder, is there a possibility that you can, take it out in the hallway with Mr. Gillespie, Spencer Gillespie, and Andrew Klein and yourself, and sort of come to some kind of a compromise to reintroduce a resolution that everybody's comfortable with?
I think that would be a fantastic idea, Lynn. Of course, what's challenging about being an elected official in California is we have the Brown Act, right? And the Brown Act prevents, for those who may not know, prevents more than 2 elected officials speaking about any specific topic that will be agendized. The idea is that we are public servants and our work needs to happen in public.
Right. No, I get that. You're smart people, but I bet you could all figure that out.
I think we probably could.
Okay.
And I hope that that is something that President Klein is thinking about. I know that it is something that I am thinking about. We are seeing through our email and other channels, you know, a real good number of folks requesting that there be continued work on something, that we pass something that shows, you know, the board's solidarity with the kids they serve.
I cannot wait to see how this, resolves. And
you and me both.
Because this obviously needs to be moved forward.
Yes.
And it can't stay where it is. We have to move forward.
Yes, and, you know, I know it was stated by President Klein. I cannot recall if the other trustees stated this in the meeting, but that, you know, this kind of wait and see idea that we could bring it back and take another look at it. And again, I point out that many of the concerns that were brought up in mid-April have now been, at least to a certain extent, addressed.
Because things are moving so quickly.
It's, yes, you know, not quickly enough and then too quickly. Right? As bureaucracy tends to do.
Yeah.
And courts tend to do. But that, you know, if there can be a conversation about both and, of course, I am not suggesting that we do anything that put ourselves at risk. But I think we're all smart people, and we can look at and address the actual risk based on who we have and what has been told to us as far as protections, and the amount of time it will probably take for any sort of action with a group of people in power that have no mechanism to actually do what they're saying.
Right, a letter is not a
It truly is a threat. It is not a law. It is not a mandate. It is none of those things. And so if that is the case, how can we talk about what we can do? How can we talk about if in some crazy world, we live in one now, there was a discovered mechanism to remove that 4% funding? Do we have a backup plan? And what do those 3 trustees need to make them feel comfortable to support the students?
So rather than approaching it from a no perspective, you'd like to see them approach it from, well, let's figure this out and massage this to fit.
And that is truly our job, right? We are elected from various parts of the county, and it is our job to come together as one unit to work these things out. And I think the public expects that we work them out in public, as we should. They need to know what we're thinking, where our values are, what's important to us. And my understanding from the many kids I've spoken to, from the many groups I've spoken to at Nevada Union specifically, this feeling of the grown-ups don't get it. The grown-ups don't see. The grown-ups aren't listening. Well, I would like to say that our kids are watching us. The future is watching us. History is watching us. And I really hope we can find a way to the right thing.
Well, I hope we can have you back.
Absolutely.
With good news about a resolution in the near future, and to repeat that the next board meeting is on May 14th?
Yes, starts at 6. Open session starts at 6 p.m.
All right. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Please come back. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, I will.
All right, thank you. Well, folks, thank you for watching this edition of Nevada County Now. We hope you found tonight's episode informative and that it helps shed some light on the issues. If you would like to help contribute or write stories, appear on a show, or even become a host, please check out the details on our website at nevadacountymedia.org/NCN. This program is local news and information brought to you by locals. Remember to stay safe, take care of each other, and get out there and explore all this community has to offer. Good evening.